trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge. Now they packing on all. Now they know what you like. One day they bring it out. Yeah, she know the trouble. Keep on bringing it out. Now they make it in. And they know we quit. Somebody dig it. Keep on bringing it in.
Meet your mic. Yeah. There you go.
Problem. And they ran out of options. We know we got a problem. Can't let it go unsolved. Right? If they ready their mouth, then they looking for trouble. Ran right up in the knowledge. Now they packing a hummer. Now they know we can fight. Content given every week. Me and Yoshim Mod. Keep on bringing the heat. Now they know that we hit. And they know we quit. Yoshim Mod and jigging. Keep on bringing and giving. Unity, unity, unity. Cause they know we ain't stopping. And they know they got problems. And they ran out of options. If we know we got a problem, can't let it go unsolved. Ray learning, Afrocentric issue, we see them all. Karma is karma, I see what I say, I hear the wall. Till I see y'all fall off, then I bring y'all up on the back up on my Clyde winners. Clyde winners, Clyde winners. Clyde winners, Clyde winners, Clyde winners. Clyde winners, Clyde winners, Clyde winners. Clyde winners, Clyde winners, Clyde winners. Divine winners, Clyde winners, Clyde winners. Clyde winners. I'm with you, ride with you. Master teacher, create max, Clyde winners. Give respect to the elders, Clyde winners. Somebody out there looking for me. Yeah. I told you somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me. I think there's somebody out there looking for me.
I'm not making stories, I'm not glad. I'm not cursed, I'm not defiled. I'm not confounded. I'm not cursed together.
Dr. Winters has illustrated that Africans have been settling the New World and building new civilizations and cultures in the Americas and around the world for the past 100,000 years. Dr. Winters has published and written numerous anthropological, linguistics, education, and population genetics articles. Many of these articles have appeared in peer-reviewed journals and online. His work has appeared in the Journal of Black Studies, Afrohistorique, Journal of African Civilization, Adolescence, International Review of Education, Thresholds in Education, TC Record, Bioessays, International Journal of Human Genetics, and PLOS Genetics, to name a few. He has published over 40 books, including Atlantis and Mexico, The Monde in the Ancient Americas, We Are Not Just Africans, and African Empires in Ancient America. For more of Dr. Clyde Winters, check out Yoshim Mod Gumroad page, and that will lead you to the master himself, Dr. Clyde Winters.
What up, though? What up, though? What up? Family, how you doing? I'll go travel abroad with your bad say your fuck.
What's
Cynthia,
up?
Madonna Bell, R3D Sigma, Karen Vincent. Everybody, what's up tonight? Tonight we starting this new show, and it's me and the genius. How you doing, genius?
I'm good. What's up? What's up? What's up?
I
Master
don't
researcher. What's up?
I don't really know, genius, because things is getting all I'm getting discombobulated. I'm looking at all this stuff, you know. My man was on the damn uh uh you know on YouTube this week, you know,
Mm,
Cat Williams. And you know,
mm.
Cat Williams was breaking it down, but
Ooh.
you know, what did you think about his show?
I mean, Cat Williams. From what I seen, he opened up a can of worms, and everywhere, all on TikTok and everywhere, everybody talking about it. So he did create a major. It's a distraction. It distraction everybody, but he opened everything up. So I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. I mean, it's two sides of it, right? They fleeing from it. I see it. And Ludacris made a comeback song. I don't know.
Hey, well,
I don't know.
Ludacris, Ludacris got to make some money, but what I found interesting is that
Oh.
I didn't just look at him when he was attacking all the when he was attacking all of the people, you know, the other comedians. What I saw was when he talked about the hood. Family, tonight we're talking
Mm,
about the hood,
mm,
then my time, and now. You know, Yoshim Mod, the genius time. But you know, Cat Williams, he talked about a time in between my time and Yoshi's time. He talked about the fact that, you know, he was you know, born in the early 70s. You know, I think he said he's 50 years old now. So he said that when he was 5 years old, they recognized him as a genius. And because
mhm,
they recognized him as a little genius, he was on television, he was on the stage, and he's already presenting to people. But
mhm,
then he said over the years, as he got a little older, he began to be more independent minded.
mhm,
So one day when he got 13, he said that him and his father got into an altercation. I guess his father whipped his ass. I would have whipped his ass if he got smart with me.
mhm,
But his father whipped his ass, and it was very interesting. Is that you know, Cat Williams said that after his father beat him, you know, then he had two alternatives. The alternatives were to one to call the you know, the federales, you know, call the you know, the cops,
right.
or
Nope.
to or to run away.
Mhm.
And he decided that since he had two little brothers,
Mhm.
and when he called the authorities, they told him that there was a good possibility that if he called the federales, that they would separate the family, and his he didn't want his brothers he didn't want his brothers to be separated. So then what he did, he ran away at 13. You know, when I thought about this, it really made me frightened. What did you think? What do you think about running away from home at 13,
Running
Yoshi?
away from home at 13. I remember in the streets on Farm Park, you didn't want to run away from home at any age like that. Y'all can hear me out there?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, you didn't want to do nothing like that. So I mean, just being at my son 10. So being at that state of mind on your own, I mean, on them levels of knowing, I mean, where he say he went to Miami, right?
Yeah, he said he went to Miami.
He went to Miami of all places. So that's like scandalous. Like that's
Yeah.
like 10 times the streets, on a mass level, So we looking at everything, and that's bad for him, man. I mean, just being out there, just think about what he went through. But looking at his articulate level as far as his experience on reading all the books that he read and knowing what he had to do to get where he had to get. So he had to kind of fit in to get in. So he said that he's seen the hustlers and he's
Ah,
seen how easy it was to make a grip. So he said, see, a lot of people didn't peep this. He said he always kept money in his pocket because he'll go around stealing car radios. See, I peeped that. I was like, wow. But he did, but that's the streets. So you in the belly of the beast. You find any in any way, in any means to survive. So, even if it's handed, I don't, he didn't say he dealt with the drugs or even sold drugs or nothing like that. I don't think in that interview, but I know.
But one of the things that I think is very significant when you talked about the fact that he said he dealt with the people who were street people. But what was so interesting is that he talked about the fact that the hood in Miami back in the day when he came there at 13, that would have been what he said. He's 50, so that would have been what, about 37 years ago, something like that, right? So he talked about the fact that 37 years ago he was able to hook up, with prostitutes and other people that gave him that took care of him, tried to guide the brother, tried to give him a place to stay. And I think that is very significant, given the fact that nowadays you can't hardly find people who really want to help you.
No. In my time, it was hard to find someone to help you. So we kind of went to vacant apartments when I was growing up in the city.
Yeah.
So I remember when I left home, we got together and we found a vacant apartment, and we crashed out in that from night to night. And in the morning we'll move out and go to another one. Just have our little stuff, just shower up or do whatever. Everything still work. But yeah, you're right. That unity, I don't know what it's like, from how y'all was growing up than when I was growing up, because I mean we had houses to go to, but in my time of growing up, crack was already out, drugs was already out, everything was already done to us. So what we had to do to survive was hand me down from y'all generation. And you know what I'm saying? Like the trickle effect is crazy. So yeah.
Because I think back in the day in the hood when I grew up, I grew up on 47th. I grew up on 47th Street in Chicago. It was very interesting because when I was first born, we lived on the street. We lived on not on Evans, but we lived on Prairie. And see, when I was a little kid, when I was up to about 7, 8 years old, maybe up to maybe 10, we lived on Prairie, and my cousins lived there too. That's very interesting that back in the day, many members of the same family usually lived around the same streets. Then we moved over to 47th Street, 741 East 47th Street. And then when I got there, we had moved away from my family. But at the same time, because my father was there, it was kind of a little different. We lived in an apartment that had about 15 other apartments. And see, in this apartment, back in the hood at that time, I was the only we were the only family in 15 apartments that had a man coming home every night. My father, because my father was married to my mom. But the thing is that what I noticed back then is that it was much more of a community. What I meant by that is that, you could go over to people's house and they would let you in their house and they would feed you, And you knew that every Friday they had fish. They had fish every Friday. Sunday, anybody house you went over, they had chicken, And so then you had this regularity. I remember growing up on 47th Street. If I went up and down the street, people knew my father. They knew my family. So if I did something, like we had a bad thing back then, jumping off roofs, garage roofs. We'll hang off over. Oh yeah, we'd hang over the banisters from the first floor and then drop down. When you're a kid, you don't know. Running up and down alleys and stuff like that. So it was a very beautiful thing because of the fact that it was a lot of love, a lot of understanding. But by the 60s, we ran into a problem because there became a lot more people in the community that was kind of negative, And then, and so when I heard Katt Williams talking about the fact that he was able to find this relationship with the prostitutes and other people. I saw that as very interesting, and I saw that maybe at that time it was a little bit more interesting, but I was a little surprised because see, around then I was by the 70s when he would have ran away, I had children, and I had you know, adolescents, preteens, and by the 70s, they wouldn't let other people, they wouldn't let your kids into their house. And so then what happened is that most of the kids in my neighborhood, they were able to come into our house because, you know, my wife she used to allow a lot of the kids to come into the house, and they could come and play with our kids. They used to play Dungeons and Dragons, shit like that. But see, then there was another lady down the street. She was a Christian woman, and you know, she thought that my house was teaching demonology because she thought my kids were demons because they were playing, you know, Dungeons and Dragons.
Right.
But the thing is, this is that by us giving them a place to stay, my wife, that was my wonderful one. What she used to like to do is that over the summer we would rent a bus, and my kids, they don't want everybody damn to come. So we'd rent a bus, and we would take the kids with us out of what was called Six Flags. We had a Six Flags.
Yeah, I had one too. Yeah.
You know, and so then we would take the kids to Six Flags. They would have a little fun. But the whole problem was that, you know, when Katt Williams is talking about how cool it was kind of a little deep back in the 70s when my kids were growing up, because when my kids was growing up, you know, the neighborhood that we lived in, it was supposed to have been a neighborhood that was part of the Disciples neighborhood. So I'm 30, 40. We moved over there when I was 29. I'm in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and these kids come around saying, "Hey, folks, wait, I'm not him. I'm not in the game." What was it like when you was growing up, man?
Yeah, I mean, South Park, grandmother used to get us, and we used to go to the go get some cheese from the church down the street.
Oh shit, man! You better leave me alone.
Yeah,
you better leave me alone.
All right. So yeah, I ain't know nothing about it, you know, growing up. But what I do remember, we had a Cool Cup lady. Do anybody know about a Cool Cup lady? All right. Cool Cup lady Miss Brooks sell Cool Cups for 25 cents. South Park.
Okay.
We go over there and get them nice Cool Cups. Grandmother rode the bus everywhere. She used to work for some Jewish family, and she always complained about them because she said that I guess she did housekeeping. Okay. So she said whenever she left, they'll cut the AC off, you know, and have it hot while she doing her work for 8 hours or whatnot. So I remember that much. But my mother, she was a bus driver for HISD for years. Growing up, leaving from South Park, one thing I remember was that kind of broke my little childhood. I mean, it was all good. Everybody was nice in the neighborhood growing up. I mean, you don't see that now because of what's going on in the streets. But back then, I can remember it was nice. You could just run across the street, barefoot, no cars. You know, I mean, I used to run from my mother's house at like 3 or 4 years old to the neighbor's house, just shoom, going to get a Cool Cup. That's how long I've been getting Cool Cups from a toddler all the way up to like 9, 10 with this lady. So I remember I seen I think I was around by 6. I was right up the street, up the block, and a car drove down the block, stuck a gun out, and started shooting. And that's when I could relate the movies to real life. And I was like, oh, snap, this stuff really, you know, freaking happening. So a clarity moment that movies, they portray, you know, what you see on the film really happens in life. So when you see someone like Katt Williams, on the screen and he's like stand up doing his thing, you don't count into that fact that where he been from, like where he came from, and the hood that he been in and the environment that he come from and what he came and bring to the table. So he's authentic. I could say that the most. So his upbringing is authentic and I can relate to it the most coming from where I come from. But that was a eye opener for me. And then just, being in the hood, man, it was a nice feeling back then. We had skating rings. Skating rings all over.
People don't skate anymore, do they?
They took away a lot of them.
Yeah.
Skate rings gone. You had they actually have documentaries on them taking away skate rings because it's like a black thing. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we get up on there and we boogie down. Bowling. It ain't too much of that going on. I mean, I remember but the kids used to have, like in Houston, theme parks. They used to have so many attractions. I mean, I can name a bunch when I was growing up. I don't know, because see, you mentioned about the theme parks, and I just know for sure that looking at it now, that's one thing that we're lacking is entertainment for the kids.
Yeah, and I think that's a good observation, because when Katt Williams was talking about the fact is that when he was moving from place to place, and he found a lot of colleagues, he found a lot of people who were supportive, and I think that was a very interesting time because I know that back when I was growing up, as I said, we had a place called Riverview, and it was a local place where everybody went for the a kind of amusement park. But what I kind of feel is that what they did is that they wanted to create in us foundational Black Americans an emptiness, because see, I found that while I was teaching is that kids in the hood, our children need to be loved. Our children need to be, held in compassion. Our children need to be understood because see, I remember when I was teaching, a lot of times you got these kids in the class and they talk, boys talking about the bullshit. It was wolf tickets, but it would scare a lot of the white teachers, and it would scare many other Black teachers. Many of the Black teachers had lost any relationship, any connection to the hood, and because they had lost any connection to the hood, they didn't know how to deal with people in the hood. They were afraid of their own people, and I think that Katt Williams, he brought up that fact that we have so much fear of each other. And we're always in a sense trying to find a way to put each other down. I remember when I don't know about you, but when I was in high school, we had slick dresses and we had conservatives. I was conservative. My parents didn't have any money. It was 10 of us. So, I wore all that square shit. But then, the cool guys, they used to wear what's called Gauster pants. These were real wide pants, like you see people wearing with zoot suits. They would have wide suits. Everybody, the cool guys, they all wore Converses,
Converse. Okay.
Right? Converse gym
All right.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
So then if you didn't wear Converse and you came to school, they wouldn't even let you play on the basketball court, man. That's why I had to play football. I didn't have any Converses. Did y'all have that down in Houston?
No, when I was growing up, it was starchy jeans.
Oh, okay.
So I remember in school you had to have the latest Jordans. You had to have the flyest Jordans. See, ours was Jordans, not Converse. So it advanced to Jordans. You had to have. Then the Jordans had to come out that day. I guess it was like a fashion statement, and your jeans had to be starched. Like so we called it in H-Town starchy down. So what we do is we get Stay Flow and get the jeans and we make a crease. We iron a crease in it.
Okay.
And then we get the Stay Flow and we hang the jeans upright and then we spray it with Stay Flow. And then gradually it builds up a coat of stay flow on it, and then you get it down once it dry. Then you iron it a little bit. It gets harder. You reverse it, turn the pants inside out, do it again. I mean, you talking a method, and they make the pants real stiff. So y'all can imagine like cardboard, and then you crease. So it's funny. So this was a style in Houston. So then you, when you get your pants, they're like this, like a board, and then you have to lay on the bed, and then you gotta push your legs through it, and then break them. And yeah, this is crazy, right? But this was a style. But I remember that was a major fashion statement down here, and what we had some like a I don't know if y'all had like a popular hairstyle. We had the Southside fade. So
what was that? What was that like?
It was a bald fade, everything cut off, and then you have a patch of hair right here that's blended in. But they call it the Southside fade. So just thinking back on that, and then people had a song called, "You Body Rock." But see, this is fun stuff. Anybody remember house parties? Dr. Clyde, you have any house parties, like hood house party adventures?
We used to have house parties. We used to have quarter parties. And what it is that quarter parties. It was the way to hustle. Remember, people was kind of a little poor. Like my mother and they used to play what was called policy, and that was the numbers. And she would play policy every day. And then my mother and them, once a week, they would have a card game, and it would go among our friends. And each Friday, they would have a card game, and everybody had to come and at least spend $25 to $50. And so, but when I was a teenager, we had quarter parties. And they come to school one day, they'd have some little index cards, and they'll say so and so house, Friday night, 25 cents. And you pay 25 cents and you come into the party,
Wow.
And those were cool until about 66. 1966, that's when the gangs got strong. But see, back in the day, I was like this. I go to those parties, man. But then a lot of time my man might say, "Hey, Clyde, you better get out of here." And the next day I come to school, find out they had a fight or something like that. So you always had to even whenever you went out, you always had to keep your spider senses tingling. You had to always be thinking. Because you didn't want to die, man. I don't know, because see, man, I was afraid. I just knew I wasn't going to get to be 21. I knew I wasn't going to get to be 21. And since I knew I wasn't going to get to be 21, the only thing I wanted to do was have some intercourse before I die. I didn't want to die a virgin. And so that's crazy, but that's one of the things that lead us into a negative proposition. The gousters, like I told you, the cool guys who were the gousters with the thick pants and everything. Back then you used to have the pimp walk. What I mean by pimp walk, you had the pimp walk, and see, the reason that we pimp walk is that as Katt Williams brought out, back in the day, you did not want to be seen as being gay. You didn't want to be seen as being a punk. And so then, most of the time when you walk, your butt might shake a little bit. So we be pimping down. And while we be pimping down, we do that just so it'll be looking cool. But at the same time, we was trying not to have our asses, looking feminine and shit like that.
So look, all right, real quick. What you think about what he said about Ludacris then? So like when he said Ludacris coming out walking funny, because you on Katt Williams, so I mean it has some truth to what he say, because everybody that he spoke about has replied and said something. But see, yeah,
it's a new day nowadays. I mean, a lot of people nowadays they want to get to the top, and they don't mind they hold not being virgin. I don't know, and so. And so
the
then
casting couch.
not just the casting couch. It's all over the place, man.
Oh man.
You can even go trying to get jobs and stuff like that. You can go and have interviews.
Yeah, it's levels to it. Yeah,
because it's gay. It's gay people everywhere. I didn't know. I wasn't gay. I had an uncle who was gay when I was growing up,
Right.
But I wasn't around gay people so much until I went to college.
Mm.
And then when I went to college, I went to University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana, and I found that a lot of the guys who had been there for years, they were kind of, gay, because see, a lot of people, I found that a lot of people who went to university, they thought they were important. And see, I found over the years that people who think that they're so great, people who think they're better than everybody else, they had a tendency to become, kind of join the letter people because they felt that they were so great, so exciting. I know my sons, my sons, I had a nephew. And so my nephew, my sons, I made them read comic books when they were growing up.
Okay.
So then they would play superhero.
Right.
And so they said they would play superhero, and they would always be, like Thor, the Hulk, Spider-Man. And then they said my nephew, Anthony, he would always want to play Wonder Woman. And they said, Pop, we didn't think about it back then, but as he got older,
it showed.
Wonder Woman.
It's
interesting. I don't know. Did y'all have that? Did y'all have that feeling down in Houston that you had to always try not to be looking like you were effeminate and stuff like that? You always had to be kind of acting like you were tough.
What do you mean? I'm light skinned and I may not be showing the long hair, but I had long hair back then. I got it right here though. But
okay.
Back in my time, light skin, they called it baby daddy hair.
Baby daddy hair. Why they call it that?
I guess because you can make they call it good baby daddy hair. You good at producing kids with that soft hair. That's what they called it. So yeah, a little biased, but yeah, that's just one of the things that you get called a pretty boy. You see, so being light skinned, of course, if I be around you playing football and I don't play sports and I do art, yeah, I be called a pretty boy all day long. Y'all probably run over. I call y'all a jocks. Look at old jocks right there. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I played football, but the girls, they thought when I was younger, I had hair. I don't have none now.
Yeah.
Family. I got to tell you something. Yoshim Mod has made some fantastic pictures of me, and he's put hair on my head. And then Yoshim Mod put me in a mink coat. I put that picture on Facebook, and I had all these women coming into my DMs. I said, "You too young for me, baby. I don't have the money. I might look like a sugar daddy, but I'm a honey daddy because I don't have the sugar." But anyway, the point is that back then you had to really be okay. And so even though I played football, the girls always said I had pretty eyes. We had, in Chicago, you had two types of girls. On the South Side, you had the girls who thought they were sophisticated, and then on the West Side, many people on the West Side, they came up later, and a lot of them was country girls. The country girls used to always want me to come over and make a baby with them. Hell no. No. I didn't want to make no damn baby. But
pretty eyes, huh?
Yeah. So I don't know if y'all had that thing. So we had the so-called sophisticated girls on the South Side. The country girls were supposed to be on the West Side. But and it was like two different cultures growing up. And even though we were all, Black people, Foundational Black Americans, most of us our families had all came from the South, but it seemed as though the people on the West Side, in the West Side hood, we thought there's a little bit more country, and we thought that living on the South Side, we were more sophisticated. What about Houston?
Okay, all right. In Houston, you got South Park. That's where I originated from. That's like hood. You got Harlem Clark. That's hood. You got Mo City. That's hood. Then you got A-Leaf. A-Leaf is like all of them in there. It's like but it's the city, so it's like I don't know. It's like, all right, being on one street and then having apartments from one end of the block to the like I guess like a mile, like a mile long, from one end to the next, and on the other end a whole set of apartments. So it ain't like it's houses. It's like you walk across the street and then you're in a whole, and every apartments have their own. So like every apartment had their own demographics in a sense, you know. So I can get like to the hoods and be like, here go the cities and over here. But then once you go into Houston City, it's like all cities and apartments. I don't know if that makes sense. It's like, all right, look, let me explain. When you doing this, when you in the city, and then you have left and right side, right? So then you have the apartments, and what it is it's like a different feel than being in houses, rather than having it down the block. So when you up in the city, like venturing off into the neighborhood, into different apartments, is like drifting off into different cities. So you'll get a whole different vibe. So we had one apartments that was like, we called that like the hood apartments. And then my auntie called it the welfare apartments, because everybody over there was like, I guess, low income. And then you had the ones right next to it was like middle class. And then right across the street from that was like all family. So I was up in the all family that venture off into all the other ones, that what my auntie told me. But it just looking in that aspect and going into like the different sets of apartments was like crazy. Like you had some hood folks up in there, like in what she called the welfare apartments. It was very hood, man. It was like that's what, like, she said it what it is. Like they'll rob you. They'll, when you go up in there, like everything's wrong. They stealing everything. That's where I learned how to steal bicycles. I don't know if you ever did that. So I learned how to steal bicycles at that time. So that's why I say it's like different kind of cities. So if you go into the middle class, it was cool. We used to go over there to swim in a swimming pool. You see? So they swimming pool was always clean. So in the hood apartments, the swimming pool was always dirty. So we would always get together with them and then go over there. And then the family apartments, like it's Metal Southwest back then, if y'all want to know. So that was a huge strip, and the apartments was huge. And man, you go up in there, you get lost as a kid. And they had like 3 swimming pools, So we went up in them, and man, as kids, that stuff was fun. So it was adventurous, and it was a whole lot to do. So I could say Metal Southwest was like the inner city of Houston. It's so much you can do. You can get in trouble. It's some bad over here. It's some bad over there. But then you got the apartments over here right across the street was like South Park, Harm Clark, Mo City. You're gonna get some hood activities. There's gonna be something active going on. And then you have the middle class apartments, like I said, where like the college students be at and stuff. It was just like more productive and everybody going to work. So it was like, get on your 9 to 5. I don't know if you had them different elements growing up to see that back in the day. Like,
well, see, back in the day, in the beginning, what it was like is that up until about 1960, everybody lived in the same areas, But there was a place called South Park. Today it's called Martin Luther King Drive. That's where it used to be a lot of mansions at, and so but and teachers and all that stuff lived in the mansions, but everybody lived together back then in those days on the South Side. Teachers, lawyers, everybody lived together. But then about 1960, they built the projects over on what we call State Street in Chicago. When they built the projects, then you know how it is. They built the projects were beautiful. They were nice homes. But then after people lived in the projects a while, then the city stopped picking up garbage. The city stopped looking at who was
doing it.
Yeah, the city stopped looking at who was moving in them, and so a lot of people in the projects, were selling drugs and things like that.
Mhm.
Back in the day, whenever you visited the projects, you had to, my wife, her cousins lived in the project, so whenever you went over their house, you had to run, you had to wait, and you had to look up and then run, so they wouldn't drop anything on you. So that was kind of interesting. Yeah, yeah. You had to run, man. And like my wife, she lived on 29th Street, which was also kind of it was called the Ickies or whatever. It was a different project. But see, the first time I went to go see her, I was trying to leave at 9 o'clock, and they said, "We're gonna beat your ass." So I had to run back up her house. So I had to always leave her house at 12 o'clock. I had to wait till all the guys stopped playing basketball, or I was gonna get my ass beat. Because I lived on 47th Street, now it's 29th. But the interesting thing about that is that many other people who lived in the building who were on aid, a lot of them, when they had telephones, it was, when you were on aid, you couldn't have a man in the house, couldn't have any man clothes.
No.
And you couldn't have a telephone.
No.
So what the people would do is that many of the people who were on aid, they would have a telephone, but they would put their telephone in the closet.
Yeah.
They put their telephones in the closet. And and then when the aid people would come over, this is what the people told me, because we weren't on aid, because my father, he did construction work. And so they would cover up the telephone in the closet, and they would try to, and then if you did have a man, and then the aid worker would say, "Hey, what are these men clothes doing in here?" And then they would tell the social workers, "Oh, that's my brother clothes, that's my father clothes."
Yeah.
That, trying to cover it up. And see, what happened though is that in the 70s and 80s, a lot of black women got jobs with the government, and they just started telling all the hustles, man. They started telling all the hustles. They started finding people telephones. They found all type of things. Like when my sons was growing up, when they got jobs. I'll tell it now because you can't do it. When a lot of people who my sons knew when they were growing up,
right?
A lot of times, in a sense, a lot of the kids they would know girls who were single moms, and so when income tax would come around, they would go and try to find some of their friends who were single moms, and they would put their kids on their income tax. But see, that all stopped because as soon as black people started working for the aid department, they started telling all the hustles, man.
That was big.
And I hate to say this, family. Yes, Dr. Winters.
Yeah.
Dr. Winters had to hustle too. Yes.
Yes.
You did not grow up in the black community.
No, that's right.
Unless you learn how to hustle. It's
no
good.
You remember when food stamps was food stamps?
You're not gonna make it.
You remember when food stamps was an actual, like, the money? Like,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. and then I knew some people, when they would want to go to the show, they would get their food stamps, and they would go to the local store, and they would maybe buy something for a quarter, so they could gather up money to go get to go to show and places like that. Then later what they did is they started that you could only use the card. Okay, Karen Benzin said, "I'm 66. We grew up in Harlem and lived in an apartment. Our mom worked. We went to school up the block. No outside unless with our mom." Okay, that was pretty good.
No, she right. Because my mother wouldn't let me go out. I was sneaking out. Okay, so let's get that straight. So yeah, I wasn't allowed to go across the street when we moved to the in A-Leaf when I was 7 years old. In South Park, that was a neighborhood. So in South Park, I was able to run across the street to the neighbor's house. But growing up in the apartments, no, not at all. When I came to A-Leaf, it was predominantly white folk out there. It was a bunch of white folk. So my mother was very cautious. So like remember when I said it was different classes? When I first got there, this was before the Beltway was built. So I seen A-Leaf, at least that side of town, and Willcrest before they even built the freeway for what y'all know as Beltway 8. So before Beltway 8, it was land over there, and we used to have fox sightings
Okay.
and hawks and buzzards.
Oh wow.
It was a bunch of wildlife. I
You
remember.
saw a real buzzard?
Oh, hey, man, buzzards all over here, man. Don't get.
What?
Hey, look. Hey, they messed up. See, right now I'm over here close by Webster.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like over here by Santa Fe. If anybody know what that familiar with that, Santa Fe, Texas, and over there in like League City. So in League City area, they have like a bunch of buzzards. Like I say by 30 or 40 buzzards be flying in the sky.
What?
Yeah. And they come from like these trees or whatnot. Like they had like these big trees over there, like to the left, just like a little patch of trees where they have their nest at. And just recently they cut down a few of them, and some of the buzzards lost their home. And right when that happened, you seen a whole bunch of them in the street dead.
Oh wow.
Because of there's a lot of carcass in out here in the country. So when the buzzards go down and eat the carcass, the trucks, run them over. So they become carcass now. So
Ugh.
it wasn't like that before they cut the trees. But yeah, buzzards, raccoons, possums, it was a wildlife until they built the
Expressway.
the expressway, and then they start putting a bunch of apartments, and the smell changed. Now I want to ask you that. Now, did the smell change for you? Because I noticed that the smell changed, and I used to hear the insects. It was different insects. The wildlife was different before they put all that stuff. I don't know if you ever witnessed change in your area where you actually
I
seen
did.
city being built,
Yeah.
and the smell changed, the plants, animals,
Yeah. Go travel abroad said, yep. In LA 1970, regardless of class, all blacks were together. What happened is that we used to and then Karen Vincent, welfare, cheese, etc., food stamps. We heard the welfare stories. My mom was a smart bookkeeper. She worked in the garment department. The Jews loved her. That was cool. But I'm gonna tell you something. When they used to give out, my kids were little, but when I knew a church was giving out that government cheese, I'm gonna tell you something. That government cheese was the best cheese I ever ate in my life. We still reminisce that government cheese. We still reminisce that government cheese. That government cheese, when you made cheese sandwiches, damn, I love cheese toast. They talk about these brothers who be selling their soul for some biscuits. I might be able, they might catch me with some of that government cheese toast. But anyway, you're right about the smell. When I was growing up, at first, I lived in Bronzeville. So at first it was real cool. We had a nice people on 47th Street. They had a nice little business section. People could make money. You could go there and you could get jobs for black people and all that type of ish. But then what happened is they built the Dan Ryan Expressway. And when they built the Dan Ryan Expressway, they tore down the business side of Chicago. They tore down where black people had businesses and stuff like that. And the smell was different. And it was different because the fact, in the sense, is that what you found is that it was much more of that oil and stuff like that. And what people found out later is that those highways was causing a lot of the kids in the hood to have asthma. Just like roaches. They say a lot of roaches cause asthma. I hate roaches. I was talking to a brother today. I'm not gonna name his name. He's a well-known brother. He's talking about killing mice. And he's talking about how his mom, he's an adult now. He's in his 50s. He's talking about how his mom didn't want him to kill the mice. Man, I hate mice to Mises. Give me a mice trap. I gotta kill him. I gotta kill him. I gotta
go.
Yeah, but when I was little,
not at mom.
growing up on Prairie, we used to have I know you saw when Michael Jackson said he had a pet rat, but we had rats in our house, and so what the rats would do is that they would steal my little sister's them clothes, and they would pull it. They would take the clothes and pull them into the rat hole. Yeah, yes, I lived around rats. I lived in the ghetto. I lived in the ghetto. I lived in the hallways was pissy. I mean, you walk down the street. When I was growing up, when I got to be a teenager, you walk down the street, police cars would stop, and they would stop and they say, the lick. And what you do, you get up against the car, and then they would search you, pat you down. I said, they knew I didn't have none, but I wasn't going to say shit. Back then, every police car in the hood had a shotgun back then.
Yeah. But
they stopped putting shotguns in the cars in when the riots started. Because when the riots started, sometimes them brothers, would if they could firebomb a car, they would get the shotgun and they would shoot the police and other people. See, a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people think that the civil rights movement, they say, damn, the civil rights movement, the civil rights movement, what they did is that it got us freedom and all that. No, it didn't get us freedom. It was the civil rights movement. It was the riots. Because during the riots, Detroit, Chicago, down south, Miami, those riots, in a sense, that scared the hell out of them because everybody had a gun in their house. Especially if you had a man in the house, they always had at least a rifle to go hunting. They always had a hunting dog. So when we did the riots, they would attack the police and they shoot the police. They shoot in front of rooftops. And so then that's how I got to go to college. Thank you, big brothers, for y'all rioting. Y'all got me in college. Because they said, we got to pay that nigga off. We got to get that nigga out of here. We got to send that nigga to college. or he might start shooting too. See, don't ever believe white folks give you anything. White folks do not give you anything. You have to fight for it. I got to go to college because of the fact that we rioted. They burned up the city. They burned up the cities all over America when Martin Luther King died. And then, through 2020, when people's out there saying Black Lives Matter for George Floyd, look at all the changes we did. We have been talking this and marching and begging for years. But when people started getting amped up and having insurrections after George Floyd, they took down statues, all type of stuff. Go Travel Abroad said that in Inglewood, California, South Central, in 1973, every kid could run the whole neighborhood until the street lights came on. Any adult within between Crenshaw, Florence, Western Imperial could whoop you. That's right. That's the way it was when I was growing up in the 60s. You get your ass whooped, boy. They come and say, hey, me, boy. That was my father's name, Zenoba. Me, boy. You better get off that roof, because we'd always be jumping off roofs, jumping off back porches, all that type of silly shit. It was crazy. I could have broke my leg. You see, family. If I wasn't lucky, I might not be with you today, because I was doing some dangerous ish. But like Yoshim Mod said, is that as they brought those freeways in, the whole smell of the community changed.
The smell, the animals, everything, man. Everything changed right along with that. Right. I was looking at the in my and where I was living at, I noticed that the people they changed too. So I seen where it was a bunch of white folks and then it switched to a bunch of black and mixed. You see, so I seen different, because I came from a black neighborhood to A-Leaf to predominantly white, so I seen when they was leaving out. Yeah. So we always look at who's leaving out, leaving in. So my family come from Marshall, Texas, and we moved to Fifth Ward. And then we moved to South Park. Moved to South Park to South Drive. That's A-Leaf. From A-Leaf to Farm Park, that's right across the street. But where they built that beltway at, where I was telling you about that intersection, is like it's two different worlds.
Yeah. Karen Benzine, she tells us that we went to our neighbor's house and ate. Our mom worked and didn't have time to get welfare stuff. That's true. they had this myth that everybody back in the day in the hood was on welfare. No, it wasn't. A lot of people went to work. You know, a lot of moms went to work. And you know, it's a big thing on nowadays. You hear these so-called brothers, quote unquote, in the manosphere. You know, and they always talk about the fact that, you know, unwed mothers can't raise their children. As I told you, out of 15 apartments, only one had a man in the house. And a lot of those moms were working, some were on 8, but their kids didn't grow up to be gangsters. Their kids didn't grow up to be killers. Their kids didn't grow up to destroy the world, because see, a kid can grow up and not be a troublemaker from a single parent home. The only thing is that we forget that kids make their own decisions. You know, my sons, I got 5 sons and 1 daughter. You see, I told them this and I told them that. One of my sons one day drove up to the house. I said, "What the hell is this?" He drove up in his car. All I see is a lot of damn smoke. What? And he pulled down the window. Number marijuana. Nigga, what the hell you doing? That's right what he said. He said, Pops, hey, I'm grown now. What could I say? Yeah. What could I say? But that didn't mean that they went out stealing. And I think we got this myth. We got this myth that if a single mom raised a boy, that boy is going to be a criminal or gay, and that's a lie.
That's a lie. That's a lie. My mother worked, and I never was on welfare. The stories that I talk about is my experience with other people and other family members. But nah, my mother worked. Yeah, she worked hard, man. So I never experienced that. And that's until I left, you know, and I went out for myself, you know. And when I journeyed out on the streets for myself after being sheltered and having a support from my family, that's when I start seeing things change. That's when I start seeing that friends ain't really your friends, and you start seeing that people are using and manipulating you. So I truly hold the value of family, and I raise my son the same way, and I share the same principles with him, because we have to all be leaders of our own, and especially in them streets, because you never know who you'll follow. Yeah. You know, I followed a lot of my friends, and a lot of them are, you know, they're not here no more. So I really embrace being here with my wife, with my son, and you know, even with you, you know, we up on this show right here doing our thing, man. You know, we getting it in, and just knowing about where we came from, man, that stuff is lit, man. Hey, man, hold on. But yeah. Family, though, that's what I'm on. I'm on some family.
Family is important.
Yeah, that's major. So showing my son, so what I've been through and what you've been through, how did you separate that from your sons on, because it ain't like you can stop them from it, like how you were saying before, they made their mind up themselves. Like my son, he making his mind up himself at 10, so he already know.
Well, my sons, you know, they left the house, you know, they left house either to go, like my oldest son, he left to go to the Navy, and my other sons, they left to go to college, because I told them, I said that once you get 18, you got to make a decision. You got 3 choices: go to the military, go get a job, you know, or go to university, go to college or something. And so then what I did with my kids is that when my kids was real little, I told my wife, I said, I'm gonna whip the kids with ironing cords, and I'm gonna whip them with real thick belts. You know, like I said, I'm gonna whip them just like my mama used to whip me, and my daddy used to whip me. My wife said, "Okay, good." So when I got through talking, she said, "Whose kids are you going to be whipping with this ironing cord and this big belt?" She said, "You're not whipping my kids." I said, "They're my kids too." So then what happened is, so when I was at college, I was in a dorm athletic director. I had a board, and I had a paddle. So when my kids were growing up, I would give them maybe 3-4 hits on the ass with a paddle. You know, the Board of Education. And that's what I did. But I think that I try to teach my kids 2 things. I told them, first of all, I told them that I love you to death. I love you till the day I die, but I want to respect you as a man. I got 5 sons.
Right.
So I said, I want to respect you as a man. And I said, the only way I can respect you is if you try to, treat your woman right. If you get kids, try to take care of your kids. Because I said, that's what my father taught me. My father taught me that a man don't flee. My father taught me that a man takes care of his wife and his children and family and all that old mess up. So what I did in a sense is that so I remember when one of my sons we call him Lonnie, and we call him Lonnie, and the thing is this is that he used to like to fight all the time, So one day some guys came down and they got in front of my house and they said Lonnie, they said send Lonnie out. I said Lonnie, go out and whoop their ass. You better beat the shit out of them. And I said, Darren, you go out with him too. I got 5 sons, man. And I mean, I did not see, because I told my sons, I said that if they got a gun, if it ain't your time to die, you're not going to die. You're not going to die. So they went out there and whooped their ass. Nobody came to my house no more to look for my sons. And see, because the thing is this, is that I'm sorry. When I was a kid, I got in a fight. I went to Revis school. I got in a fight. I didn't fight back. By the time I got home, my big brother Eugene, he said, Mama, Clyde didn't fight. What? She said, what? You didn't fight? She said, Eugene, you take him tomorrow and you better fight back. So she said, I want you to fight back. If you get your ass whooped, okay. But I want you to fight back.
Wow.
So then I had to go fight. My daughter, she was kind of scary. She's a policeman now, but she was kind of scary. So my son, Lonnie always nosy. Lonnie came home and said, hey, sis didn't go out and fight. So my wife told my daughter, you better go and fight, blah, 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 or you're getting your ass whooped. And see, that's the whole point, is that I think that's why Black people don't know how to stop fighting, because our parents, at least my parents and the parents in my hood, they always taught you that you had to fight back. They didn't say kill nobody. They didn't say take a knife. They didn't say take an axe. They didn't say take a hammer, but they wanted you to fight. I'll tell you, man, when I got in fifth grade, when I got in fifth grade, I could always throw them. Right. So I was in fifth grade. So this guy wanted to fight me. He's a new kid in school. Next thing you know, he got up there and he broke a bottle. And I just stood there. I said, what? He not gonna fight with his fist, And I mean, hell,
That was different.
I don't know about when you growing up, but when I grew up, if you got in a fight, you could fight somebody. You could fight somebody, and then y'all could be friends later. You had a disagreement. You threw some licks. He might even bloody your nose and stuff, but you didn't say you had to come back and kill him or you had to hurt him. That was just the way it is. But I made a point. I never fought no new niggas from Mississippi, because those kids, they could fight too long. I didn't have that win. But I mean, that was part of all growing up. It was, you knew how to do fisticuffs. My father, my father said, I can't teach you how to fight. All I can teach you is carazing. And so instead of saying carazing, do whatever it takes to win, I always called it Karazana.
Gotcha.
But I don't know. But see, growing up in the hood, even though you had to sometimes fight, I wasn't afraid in the hood. I didn't think I was going to die. I didn't feel that until I got to be a teenager going to high school and the gangs came. But we'll talk about the gangs another day. But it was fun just growing up. You could go just like Karen Benzin. She said they used to do that in Harlem, try to jump across the roofs and they'd be dead in the backyard. Karen, I am so happy today, because every time I think about going on the first floor and you hanging over the banister, and then dropping down, I could have died. But see, when you're a young man, you don't think when you're a young man, you don't think you can die. You just don't think you can die. I'm gonna tell you something. In fact, you can't die. See, only you can't die because you're supposed to be young.
Mm-hmm.
That's what make people dangerous. That's what make young people dangerous, because young people don't fear anything like that. Just like when you was talking about Yoshim Mod, that y'all used to stay in those abandoned apartments. Right. I don't see how y'all could do that.
Anything could happen.
Weren't you afraid?
No.
What?
Hey, look, it was either that, because like, look, I hear about the stories about sleeping in vacant cars and stuff. You know, like we call them dope fiend rentals.
Yeah.
You know, so you give like a somebody who smoked crack some crack, and they'll let you borrow their car. You know, and you can ride around the town in and do whatever you need to do in it. But you know, you can rent one of them for a couple of rocks. But no, I sleeping in a vacant apartment was cool, man. It was like you said, we was tough, and we're out there, and there's drugs, prostitutes, pimps, crackheads, this, that, and all this going on, and that's the safest spot because nobody don't know how to get into these little apartments, these little nicks and crannies. So it ain't like everybody was doing it. This was something that um me and a couple of other homeboys was doing, you know, and I was around there, you know, just I know when somebody move out, you can tell, and I'm in there, go right up in there, shower up.
You know, it's it got a little dangerous during your time because that would have been in the 80s and 90s, right?
This right here is we talking 2000s, you
Okay,
know.
well,
Yeah, we talking
yeah, well,
early
that was the
2000s.
2000s, and by that
Yeah.
time it was very scary out there because see, by that time a lot of black guys was wanting to do what the white folks did, so you know they might catch you out there and kill you in there, you know, and it
Yeah,
was kind of dangerous though.
yeah, it was that, but we was dangerous. We was the ones who kind of had the guns, and you know, because and right at that time on Farm Park you had the Crips, you had the GDs, the BDs, you had right
Yeah.
down the street Woodfast. So as I grew older, leaving
Yeah.
remember when I told you across that beltway, and then
Uh-huh.
once I go across the other belt, now these apartments ain't just hoods anymore. It's like, hey, these are gangs. Like, you know, you got to watch what you wear. I remember a dude they called Grape Street came, and the dude we on the block. It was like some Friday stuff, man. We on the block chilling, and he running with a pump shotgun, chasing after some dudes. They got on
Wow.
our red, you
Yeah.
know. So, and he like, get him, cuz, get him, and he's shooting and stuff. And we like, what the hell? But you know, we knew we was in the Wild Wild West, so we knew what to expect. So a vacant apartment, and you know, because we look at it like this: you in these apartments, people got to go home. They ain't gonna be there all day. So that was our mind state back then. Was like, man, we'll just go, you know, break in, and then have a, you know, take a shower, go to sleep, you know, do whatever we want to do in there, and then clean up and close it, act like nothing, because maintenance gonna come in and clean up anyway too.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't hurt nobody. And then I always looked at the Vacos as, man, they got lights on. They like the Vaco apartment, they keep the light on all day long at night and everything. So yeah, it was different for me. But
That was supposed to catch anybody who might go in the apartment with the lights on. But you know,
yeah.
film animation art. He said, listening to Dr. Winter's story of how our black community was once all together and the changes that they went through are so insightful as a millennial who grew up after that period. Yeah, but every period has its own good points, its bad points.
Yeah.
But I bet you film animation art. I bet it was something that you guys did growing up. I bet it was something that you guys did growing up that was fun, and that you was able to go with your guys. Like back in the hood when I was maybe about 14, 15, we used to play catch daddy. And what we would do is that we would play a hide and seek thing in a way, whereas people might go 3 or 4 blocks and you had to find them. And then when you found them, then they would go with you and you would find people. Many a night you just ended up going home, going to bed because you couldn't find people.
What?
Yeah,
See,
but
that's
it was
tight.
it was fun, you know, because see, when I was growing up in the wintertime, there would be snow. And so in the wintertime, we would play slow motion football. And what that was is that you would throw the football and then you would go in slow motion, and people tackle you, and you fall into the snow. It was just fun. It was fun.
Hey, look, you had snow. We didn't have no snow out here in Texas. We had it one time.
Yeah, I know. I think a couple of years ago when it got too cold, I think all the generators and stuff broke down, didn't they?
Yeah. We don't take too kind of the snow out here.
Oh,
Yeah,
I hate snow
yeah.
too, man.
Stuff started breaking. My car broke. I had a 97 Honda Accord. That sucker broke down in that winter. Man,
wow.
the transmission, it locked.
Well, that was it for your car.
Yeah, man, forget that snow out here. We don't want none of that. Yeah, we keep it tropic. Keep it warm and tropic. Yeah. But I love that, man, about you. Y'all had a whole bunch going on. Y'all had a lot of activities. We didn't have that. We had bikes. I love bicycles.
Yeah.
So we had like a little bike gang where we used to get together and like ride. I ain't let my mother know, but you sneak out the apartments and ride all through the city on our bike, and make it home before my dad get home. So yeah, that's what I had. But as far as like games, we didn't really had nothing like that.
We didn't have bicycles because see, back when I was growing up, it wasn't any cars around, and it wasn't any bicycles. So if you had a bicycle, the police would stop you because they felt you had stolen it from the white folks,
Yeah, but I did. That's the thing. So yeah, that was the problem. So remember I told you them bad apartments across the street, my mama told me don't go to. She said don't go over there. Yeah, that's where I learned how to steal bikes. So they had an Indian apartment. So we call them the Gundy apartment. So like, yeah, excuse me. That's what we used to call it. But like on South Drive, right across the street, they had like some apartments where it was number Indian folk, right? So it always smelled like curry. So we'll go over there and we'll go like steal their bikes and then come back to the hood and then get the bikes and like switch them all up and stuff and make them our own and then ride them back through their neighborhoods and stuff. Like what? I guess just to see if it'll be noticeable. We used to do that kind of. It was weird. Yeah.
Well, in Chicago, it looked like it always looked like that white people lived across the tracks, and it was always across the tracks. You go to Inglewood, that was a part of the South Side of Chicago. They lived across the tracks. You go out to the far south side, there's across the tracks. So it's always white folks who are across the tracks. But see, and growing back in the day, it was purely delineated. Black people lived in one neighborhood. It wasn't too many Spanish there. It was a few Puerto Ricans, There's a few Puerto Ricans around, but not too many other Latinos. And it was mainly black and white. Like back then we didn't have we knew certain parts of town where you better not be. Like you couldn't stand on the street called Cicero, because see, Cicero, you couldn't go there. You couldn't go into a Mayor Deli neighborhood that was around 35th. You couldn't go in this neighborhood. If they caught you over there at sundown, your ass got beat. If they caught you on Cicero, you would probably get killed. See? Oh yes, you would get killed. And so then black people made sure that they were never Mayor Deli's neighborhood, the first Mayor Deli, or on Cicero after 12 o'clock, I remember, when my auntie, we had to help her friend move, into one of those white neighborhoods. And a lot of times, they'd run you out, man, because see, remember when Martin Luther King came to Chicago, he left town because he said, these people crazy up here. But I think that's the beauty. That's the beauty of Chicago. The beauty of Chicago is that it was so much fun because, white here, black there, and never the two should meet. And because never the two should meet, it wasn't any trouble. The first time that I really dealt with some white kids was I was taking French, and I was a freshman in high school and I was taking French, and so we had a thing. It was a special program for French students at Chicago, at Illinois, at the University of Illinois Circle campus. So my principal, my teacher put me in there, Missy Manaz. And so we were down and that's when I met a white Jewish boy. And I mean, I was 14 and he was 14, talking about he had two white girls and And he could bring him over his house and screw him. Say, what the hell? Oh, I'm behind. I'm behind.
I'm behind.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But again, it was kind of idyllic, But like I said, we're gonna talk about the games because that was a very terrible period. Right. I know that Yoshim Mod brought up the BDs and all that. We had to say, in fact, that's where they started. But we're going to talk about games at some other time. Tonight we're talking about the hood. And we're talking about growing up. And I'm really enjoying the fact that some of you guys are sending us some comments about how it was when you were growing up. For example, Go Travel Abroad. She said, here's a very interesting statement. She said that mom told us never fight girls from the islands or Russian kids. Just run. Everybody else was fair game. That may be true. When I was growing up, like I said, it was some Puerto Ricans around. And so, people would always ask me, Clyde, why are you wearing a jacket every summer? Why are you wearing a jacket? Hot. They said it was hot. Why are you wearing a jacket? You see, I always wore a jacket. I think I wore a jacket till I was about 35. And the reason I wore a jacket is because I was going to I'm a damn public school teacher and I'm wearing a damn jacket because I'm still feeling that I got to have my jacket just in case I run into a Puerto Rican and he pull that knife out. And I was going to wrap that jacket around my arm so I could block it and kick his ass. Not that I'm against Puerto Ricans, but they used to use knives a lot. And so then because they used to use knives, I wore a jacket till I was 35. That was silly. But I wore that jacket, And I think that's the thing about growing up in the hood. When Katt, when he was talking about, in a sense, growing up in the hood, it gives you a certain toughness. It gives you a toughness. See?
It does.
Because that doesn't mean that you become cold, but it gives you a toughness, and you learn that you have to compromise, and you learn in the sense that you have to know how to move. Like the thing that I learned is that I learned how to talk game a lot. And the way I learned how to talk game is that when you got a gun in front of your face, you don't got to talk that stuff so that they don't shoot your ass, but you got to be cool because you can't be really scared. But at the same time, you have to talk that mess. Yes, sir. Yes. And but the point is this. I just knew. Right. I just knew. But as I said earlier, growing up in the hood, you have so many good experiences. That people be thinking that just growing up in the hood is kind of very dangerous.
Smelling the foods.
But it had this positive aspect.
What? The different foods being cooked. Man, you get so many different tight recipes and a game. You get all the game in the hood. Yeah. Hey, look, and when I was growing up, if your car broke down, there's always a crackhead know how to fix it.
Yeah,
I always won. Man, that dude to fix your car with a paper clip, had your car running like the dealership then did it.
But you can't go to him more than 3 times.
Nah,
after 3 times, he's gonna make it so your car is gonna break down. It's gonna break down, and because if you go to him more than 3 times, he's gonna make it so your car can break down because he got to get money for that Ready Rock, baby. They used to call it in Chicago. They didn't call it crack. They used to call it Ready Rock.
Ready Rock.
Yeah, that's what they called it up in Chicago. Karen Vincenti said people were laughing at you because you can't come outside, but you stayed alive by looking out the window. See, Karen, you did a good thing. Yoshim Mod was a bad boy. His mama told him to stay in the house, but he wouldn't stay.
I went straight. Yeah, I got a whooping for that too. So don't get it twisted. It ain't like, hey, look, when I did get caught, I thought my dad was a vampire. I said, man, how did he know? Yeah. How did he know? He said, man, I know. And I got a whooping because of that. I thought that dude had psychic powers and everything. Leave it to my imagination. But yeah. Woo.
Like one day I was I used to think that the brain was everything. And since I used to read a lot, I thought that I had an alien brain or something, I'd say sometimes today I'm going to go to school and make the girls kiss me, because of my big brain. So one day I was talking to the guys, I was saying, yes, I use psychology on my mom and dad. My mother and father, my mama, I let them know what they should do. So all the guys I was standing in front of, they was all looking kind of weird. And I'm bragging about how I run my family. Next thing I know, bam! Man, I turned around, my father was behind me, said, boy, get your ass at home. And so then I lost that psychology edge. I could no longer tell him that I had him under psychology because he had proved something else. But just like my sons, to this day they always say, I was working, man. And to this day, my sons always say, you was always whooping us when you was whooping us sometimes growing up. And I would say, how did I know you did something wrong? Yeah, you was whooping us. See, I said, how did I know you was doing something wrong? You was whooping us. I said, your mama had to tell me to whoop your ass. I didn't know. I'm at work. See?
There you go.
But even to this day, I'm the bad guy.
Yeah.
Well, my wife, she was quite elegant and wonderful. But I had to do what I was told to do. I didn't know, but I had to. It takes two. It really does take two. The difference back in the day is that a lot of times when your mom worked, you had grandma around or uncle around or a father or a grandfather around. You had somebody else around the house so that they could kind of guide the child, maybe so the child wouldn't get in too much trouble. But see, nowadays, you got a lot of grandmas in their 50s and 60s. They twerking, shaking that ass, man. So
still looking young.
Yeah, they still look young.
Still looking young.
Still look young,
They can hang with you and drink with you and
yeah. Well, I don't drink anyway, but I know my sons, they like to always try to joke, say, hey, Pops, you can drink. No, I said, I don't drink. Because I said, my old man, he drank for me. He wasn't abusive or anything like that, but he used to be drunk. And so when he would come home drunk, he would drive his car into the backyard where's the parking lot. And so then my mother and my sister say, go down there and get your father. And so then so I'll go down and get Pops. And I say, come on, Dad. I called him Daddy. I say, come on, Daddy, let's go up the steps. And so my sisters and my mom, they would go in the house. And as I brought my father up the steps, every floor he had to speak to people. How y'all doing? And I was so embarrassed. But that was my Pops. That was my daddy-o. That was the man I loved. And the thing is that to this day, I still would do it because you have to learn to stick together. And I had it was 10 of us, but when I was a teenager, everybody around me was a girl. And my brothers, they were maybe 2, 3, 4 years old, 5 years old, stuff like that. So by the time they got to be teenagers, I was gone,
Wow.
But it's interesting. Back then you could sleep in the bed. You slept in the bed with your brothers. You could go over your friend's house and sleep in the bed. Now you go over a friend's house, sleep in the bed.
Oh no.
They'll say you gay or something.
Oh no, not even that. You don't that like even with my son, that's just something we don't do. Like him going over and having a sleepover. We did it one time, but because of a previous incident that happened with my daughter, me and my wife's daughter, that we don't do that. Because of what happened with sleepovers. So knowing how creepy these people get, you try see that's it's almost like a conundrum, because as much as I want my son to be out there having fun and experience what I experienced, I still gotta draw back from it because I don't know what they parents went through, because I have watched enough documentaries and enough TLC to know that a lot of people got weird agendas, and you kind of gotta see what's going on, with these people, letting animals eat in the kitchen. You see these TikTok videos, man, and you like my son at 10 years old may go over there and they fix him some food and he don't know, just the thought of that, or just on some creepy stuff, Well,
I didn't let my kids go spend the night with their friends, you know.
Right. No friends.
But that was only because of the fact, like you said, people start getting freaky, people start getting weird.
Right.
And once your kid is molested, you can't do nothing about it, you know.
No, that's it. Yeah.
You know, like me and my daughter, we was having an argument the other day. And so I was telling her back in the hood, you know, I said it was always a girl or two. It was always a light-skinned girl, always a light-skinned girl that you could get her to get naked in the hallway so you could watch her. Always a light-skinned girl like that.
What?
And then it was always a sister. It was always a sister who would have sex with all the guys, let people pull trains on her and everything. And so I was telling my daughter, I said, I don't understand that. And then she was saying, well, I don't attack people. I said, I don't attack people, but I still just couldn't understand how as a girl, or you could let all these guys pull trains on you. And then, and I just didn't understand that. And she said, well, that's because you just don't want to give people an understanding. Says it's not that I don't want to give an understanding. I just wish I would have talked to this girl. Her name was Marsha. I wish I would have talked to her. Now I wish I would talk to her and asked her, why do you do that? You know. But the point is that, you know, she was a nice girl. She had her own way, but it was just that, you know, I guess it was people using her. But then my daughter said, well, maybe she was molested when she was young. I don't know. Right. But the whole point is that, you know, that was just it, because, you know, a lot of people be saying when I was growing up in the hood, hey, come on, Clyde, we're going to pull a train on so and so. You go.
Yeah, I heard that. Plenty of times. Let's go run the train. No,
I wasn't that one.
Let's backdoor. Cause see, I knew a chick. I knew a friend of mine downstairs. I was upstairs. He stayed downstairs, and his sister. We knew her growing up, and as she became like 17, 18, she decided to be a prostitute. And she was I think she was 19, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, when she was found dead, stab wounds in a apartment, you know. So yeah, that's a tough pill to swallow, because I know her, or I knew her, you know what I'm saying. I met her, I was cool with her son, you know what I'm saying. I knew her brother, and you never know the route or what choices people may decide to take. So, like, going back to what you said, where your kids have a choice. I grew up in the same environment, in a sense, as a lot of the people grew up in, but I had a choice. You know what I'm saying? So I was able to chill in the trap houses. I was able to be around my homeboy while he cooking crack. You know what I'm saying? I was able to be in these experiments pretty much, where me and my friend is trying to make a buck off of selling crack in the hood, because I'm following. I didn't know no better. You know what I'm saying? I'm doing this. I mean, I remember 4 a.m. waking up, knocks, and I have to go in the kitchen and prep a bag, a rock, to give to these people. You know what I'm saying? So I remember these times.
Yeah.
And I lived through it. And I've seen when you take it and like embrace that lifestyle and like make it, this is it, you know, because I was in it because I chosen the wrong path, you know, but I met dudes that was in it because of not choosing, but they're trying to make a living to get out, versus somebody living a lifestyle portraying it. So man, I feel you on that. You know, I totally understand that, you know, on that perspective.
But in the 90s in the hood, you know, I was teaching in Division I county jail, and that's the top division, you know. For the and so then I wasn't around a lot of people that sold dope and all that stuff. My kids probably were, but I wasn't. But I wasn't around a lot of people. But I met a lot of guys in there. They had expensive cars, BMWs, all that type of stuff, man. They had some of the best cars. But you know, around 92, between 88 and 92, they just started cracking down on them. And they was throwing them in jail left and right. And you know, and these people, they had been making all that money, and then they was making nothing, and then some of them had tried to get the money to their moms, and then they didn't in a sense, you know, be able to keep that money. And so what I found is that it really wasn't worth it. I noticed by the 2000s, by the 2000s, you know, before the 2000s, you know, the gangs, you know, the BDs, the BDs or the Blackstone Rangers, mainly Blackstone Rangers, Cobras, they used to, in a sense, mainly sell the drugs. And so it was like a job, you know, like when I was teaching in the 80s and 90s, when I was teaching in the 80s and 90s, you know, in the hood, you know, a lot of the kids that I would be teaching, if they were selling crack or whatever, you know, these kids, you know, when they got robbed, they would take their gym shoes. They would take their gym shoes.
Oh yeah,
they would take their jackets, but they wouldn't mess with that drug money. They would not mess with that drug money because they knew you was gonna get capped. And what they used to call cap when I was growing up, I don't know what they called it down there. When they called getting capped back in the day, they would shoot you in the knees. Like now up in Chicago, it's a whole lot of guys in their 50s, a whole lot of guys in their 40s and 50s who are in wheelchairs in nursing homes because they got capped back in the day, you know. Because you didn't mess with nobody dope. You could take the guy's jacket, take his gym shoes, but you didn't do that. So I was teaching on the west side. And so it was two entrances into my classroom. I had a back entrance and a front entrance. So the kid said one day, Mr. Winters, why do you have your desk? Why do you have your desk on an angle? I said, well, I'm gonna tell you. I said, I'm teaching high school. Most of you guys are drug dealers. And so if somebody come in here to shoot me, they're going to shoot you first. What? You're going to let them shoot us first? I said, yes, I'm sorry, but I'm the teacher. I got to control the class. I had my desk on the angle. And I was serious.
They signed up for that.
I was serious as a heart attack. You know, I had some kids once. I had a student ask me once, he said, Mr. Winters, that's before I got my PhD. He said, Mr. Winters, what would you do if I came up there and hit you? I said, I wouldn't do nothing except if you came here and hit me, I'd take your hand, smash it up against the damn wall, hit you 6 times before you hit the floor, and then I'm going to stomp you in the face. And they said, why would you do that? I said, I grew up in the ghetto, baby. That's it. And I'm in it too. Man.
Straight up.
Because, see, I mean, I'm sorry. I never had to fight any of my students. But the point is that's just the way it is. Sometimes these guys, they be serious when they're telling you what they'll do to you. And if you're not ready to do what it do, that's it. See, my old man taught me how to fight. My kids, all my sons, not my daughter, because I let my wife mainly deal with her, but all my sons, I taught them how to fight. The first thing I told them to do was put up your hands. I said, block. Said block first. I taught them how to block first. Then I said, now swing. Now hit. But then my son, Lonnie, he always wanted to be slick. So he had to want to throw in the kick and shit. So I said, what? I'm sorry. Family, forgive me.
Hey, MMA all day. What?
Forgive me, family.
Hey, that's fighting, man. Everything.
Your kids to fight, baby. You might have to fight. I didn't have to fight.
Now them Africans are the ones in the hood that fight with their feet.
Oh, really?
Yes. The black people all about hands and coordination. Yeah. The essays go in head first. Yeah. The white people are all verbal, so you get them in their mouth. The Africans is gonna kick and do a whole bunch of kicking, but when I say about the essays, they hard to drop, man. I heard stories about them. So a friend of mine in Florida told me that they have it's a black on Mexican war going on out there, man.
Oh, really?
And I learned that stuff when I was growing up in school, in middle school. Mexicans and blacks used to fight. I wasn't in it. I'm always a guy that get the back end of the story. So I never see the fights, none of that. I'd be like, damn, what happened? But it growing up, it wasn't that many fights I heard about because a lot of people wasn't fighting when I was growing up. You heard about such got killed, such got killed, and you're like, dang, and people take them fighting stuff serious because of low self-esteem and dealing with a whole bunch of stuff going on at the house where they take their whole frustration out on them. So yeah, messy
It,
stuff too. Yeah.
it can be it can be complicated, we didn't have any the only time I heard about some Mexicans fighting black people was during the pandemic in a city called Cicero. Some Mexicans, they jumped on some of the old ladies that was riding what we call the elevator train. We call it the L in Chicago. So some Mexicans was beating them up, and then some gangbangers went out there and they killed the leader and shot a couple of more, and they stopped that. See, Chicago, they always talk about Chicago being a bad city. Chicago isn't it's not as bad as it used to be. It's not so much that gangs be shooting people. Like I told my daughter, I think a lot of white people come up to Chicago over the weekend and they go hunting.
Yeah, I believe that. Yeah.
They be in these cars with dark windows, and then I think they go and shoot people because gangbangers don't shoot little kids and they don't shoot women and they don't shoot old people. So I feel those people are mainly some white people coming up to have a little excitement, killing people. But see, I know in Chicago they got cameras on just about every corner. So I know they could catch the murderers if they want to. They just don't want to.
Yeah. Same over here. They talking about these cameras ain't active, man. There's a camera on every block over here, 24/7. You know what's killing people? That was messing up people out here. It was something called Kush. I don't know, man. It's like some synthetic marijuana they was pushing out here, man. And they're still trying to like spread on the weed out here and stuff, but it's really hurting them kids with them vapes. So one thing about being in the hood is temptation.
Yeah.
So I remember I was tempted to smoke what you call them, heart bleeders. They call them heart bleeders. So what it is a Blackie Mile, and what we was taught to do, because you get the Blackie Mile and they call it freak it. You take the filter out, you take all the tobacco out, take the filter out, then stuff it back in and smoke it. But look at the name we gave it. We call it heart bleeder.
Why did y'all call it heart bleeder?
Because that motherfucker bleed hearts. Yeah, it is what it say, and it's crazy because us black folks we do that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like we'll have it, how we call it, a cancer stick.
Yeah,
a cigarette. Be like, man, let me get one of them cancer sticks. We know what we're getting. And we're just like, and we're calling it as it is, and we're like, let me have it anyway. So let me get a heart bleeder. Yeah,
But I do notice that a lot of young people, they always want to have some Blackie Miles or whatever that stuff.
That's it. That's the Blackie Mile.
Yeah. And so then but like I said, it's two different worlds. I'm an old guy, and you young guys have your own way. But Karen Van Zandt, she bring up the fact is that every nationality had their area. Harlem Spanish on the east side, etc. And then, Go Travel Abroad, she made a good point. And Go Travel Abroad said, island girls were rumored to keep razor blades in their hair, and Russian kids were rumored to bite. You didn't want nobody biting you back in the day. But back in the day, you always, the reason that you learned to throw some licks was because of the fact that if you hit the ground, man, if somebody got on top of you, man, it was over. It was over,
Yeah, they get on top, that's over. Yeah.
That's over, But again, in a sense, is that even though it was shooting, even though it was all, the hood was still a fun place. People would go to the skating rink. When I was growing up, they go to skating rink. In fact, when I was in high school, we had what was called activity night every Friday. And on activity night at my high school, DuSable, we would have games. You could play games. You could skate up and down the halls, and then after skating games, Then they would have, we would go in the auditorium, they play some records. You know, you can fall in love.
What? These people
Yeah.
ain't got none of that, man. But look, hey, look.
Go ahead.
Even if they do it today, what kind of music is our generation tuned into, or what they had to offer? Come on, man.
It'll be from Sexy.
Some
You
Dirty
said
Red,
Paula.
some Dirty Red. Yeah, you gonna get that Dirty Red on you, you know. So, you know, your time is tight, man, because it seemed like it was a lot of, although it was a lot of a restriction going on, but it seemed like y'all made the most out of it and had fun as a whole, rather than the millennials in Texas growing up. We kind of had to individually find that kind of fun. So we kind of had to individually find ourselves. So we did a lot of individual stuff. So when we hear about the gangs and stuff, it was a lot in Houston, but it wasn't that many. It was just a bunch of old heads still trying to run it. I remember one dude, he rented out a convention, like a little warehouse, to give a meeting to the Crips, the neighborhood Crips. I thought it was funny. I was laughing. But because the thing is, a lot of them out there was gang banging on a different kind of level. And, you know, like I said, we got to be careful what we, you know, venture off into. But looking at it back then, like I said before, man, you had fun. We didn't have that much fun. Like it was individual. They took out, I witnessed them take all our stuff away. Like you mentioned, the skating ring, theme parks, any activity where we got together as a group, as Black folk, they took it, they spread it apart. They took it away. I seen it in Houston. Water parks, theme parks, just little like we had Celebration Station, Physical Whizzical. Come on, man. I can name a few growing up that we had that we don't have no more, man. And then you had games. We lost them games due to crime and people doing weird stuff and taking our kids, man. Because remember that there was a spike in kids being taken in the 90s. You know, they was just taking them right from under us.
Because see, you know, after what happened in Atlanta, they I think it was, they found a Jewish organization, I think, up in New York City. They were selling body parts.
Yeah, you seen that?
And I think
they found a little head on a big body and stuff, and doing zombie Frankenstein stuff.
Then I saw a video with these African brothers. They was going around collecting kids. See, you know, it's very complicated because they always prey on us. You know, and what makes it so bad is that they want to act like that we're not taking care of our children. A lot of time you just turn your back for 1 minute and they stole your kid. They stole your kid. You know, like you know, a lot of times, you know, these guys, they be in these vans and they park next to your car. Then they snatch the woman, you know.
Right.
And so it's, you know, but then I know they had this case up in I think it was Milwaukee, where they was where they had where the people in the community, it was Kansas City or something like that. But they were telling the police that it was a house where they was holding the women captive, and the police wouldn't even go investigate it. And then the people went to the house and they had to take it over themselves, you know, and catch and deal with it and see.
Einstein case ain't even closed. With the list of all of the people on that list, that stuff's still open. So you look at the world and how they're treating body, like trafficking, like it's cool. And when I heard about that court place or whatever, they put the dude on probation or something, or not even jail time or nothing for that weird stuff. Like I didn't even get far into it, but y'all know what's up, man. Y'all got to protect y'all kids, because what I was saying was with Dr. Clyde is, in his time and his kids, he was able to say, go out there and have fun and fight and do that. My mother was like, man, stay out of trouble, mind your business. And if somebody mess with you, you let me know what's going on. I
But it
go
didn't.
handle it. So
But
it
you know, by about 70, by about 80, what was it?
because I'm
By
80.
about
I'm
by
80.
the by the mid 80s, by the mid
Uh-huh.
80s, you had to kind of be a little bit more cool. I just had my son Lonnie, he just would
Yeah,
fight any
y'all
damn
tough.
body.
Yeah,
You
y'all
know,
tough. I heard y'all tough. My uncle would say that. Y'all was a different breed back then. Y'all cut from a different cloth. But y'all was raised different. And my grandma say the food ain't even what it used to
nah,
be, because she'll taste when she was living, she'll tell me about eggs, tomatoes, and
yeah.
potatoes, and she'll say they ain't no count.
They don't
She
have no
said, man,
taste.
she said these tomatoes ain't no count. You
Yeah.
know, they ain't got a lick of taste. That's what she'll say. So yeah, the food. That's why I understand what you said when you was like, man, I don't know. I
You
don't know.
know,
Give me some good
I
food. Give me some good food. I'm like,
like
yeah, I feel that. Some real deal. A real chicken. A real chicken. A
I ain't
farm
seen a
chicken.
real chicken.
A farm
The,
chicken. Man, not that
the,
market stuff. What?
you know, nowadays, you know, when my daughter was growing up, me and my wife, we wouldn't feed my daughter a lot of beef and a lot of chicken. We wouldn't feed her that.
Great.
She didn't know why we did that. But the
Mm.
reason that we didn't feed her a lot of chicken and beef when she was growing up is that we didn't want her period to come early. Cause see,
Oh.
because a lot of kids, a lot of girls were having their period about 8, 9, 10, and we felt that they were having their period so early because they was eating all that chicken and beef that had been given all those hormones and
The
stuff.
hormone. Oh, the hormones.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
so
Hormone.
we felt, I don't know, maybe we felt that if a period don't come too quick, maybe she wouldn't have a baby out of wedlock. But anyway, that's silly.
See, hey,
But the point is this.
y'all ain't got forms. Y'all ain't got them forms out there, man. Well,
Oh,
yeah.
we didn't
Fresh
have no
chicken.
farm. We just didn't do it. You know, it's very interesting, but the whole point is this: I think that over time, I noticed that by the 80s, the 90s, especially the 90s, as soon after the Black Power movement, we were teenagers and we were Black Power. We didn't give a damn about dying. My wife, she had hell.
Man, the
She didn't
music.
care
Look at the
about dying.
music.
I
Y'all
didn't care
had
about.
good
That's
theme
right.
music.
That's right. I'm black and I'm proud. Young, gifted, and black. We
Yeah.
wanted to turn this mother out. And then, in a sense,
Yeah.
but then they started saying we're gonna give people this crack. We're gonna make it so that all the moms got to go to work. They're not gonna get aid anymore. They're gonna have to go to work, and so then they destroyed the community. A lot of brothers, just about every brother you knew was a husband. So a lot of them was going to jail. So it wasn't too many men in the hood in the 90s, because a lot of them had been involved in criminal activity, and 3 strikes you out.
Right.
So it was very, very, very complicated. But see, that European, he always flipping the script because he get a laugh out of us. He's able to make a joke out of us, and that's what he used the hood as a way to make a joke. Like they're going to talk tomorrow to Jonathan Major. And so then the lady who was interviewing him, I saw the ad today, and they said, "Do you think you'll ever get back into movies or whatever?" And he started crying, and I said, "A grown man crying, but see, that's what they do to you. They make you, they beat your ass down. They beat you up so much until a lot of times you lose control. You lose the ability to be a man. And see, that's why I think in the old days." Like when I was growing up, you could fall in love with a woman, and your lady, she would be there with you if you lost your job, if you didn't have any money. You could do that. But I remember my son when he got out the Navy. I said, "What's your line?" He said, "Do you have a job?" And see, the thing now is that most relationships today are transactional. It's a transactional relationship. That's why some people get married, and then the minute the man or the woman lose their job, they divorce and they can't work with each other. Whereas in the past, I think because of the fact that we had music that talked about love, talk about struggling together, talking about being together. I think that's what made it a little bit easier for us to stay together.
Right,
You know,
right. The
'cause I remember,
music, theme
yeah,
music. You have
yeah,
music to your movie. Your
yeah.
movie, if your life is your movie, and then what's around you is your theme music. Come on now. Y'all had the perfect no matter what radio station y'all put on, it was a nice movie. Now
Yeah,
our movies are dirty. It take us straight to the club and we
yeah.
looking at commercials and stuff on there that
But
so but yeah, that's
but
funny.
I'm looking from the outside. I don't,
It's sharp.
since the pandemic, I don't see people going to clubs anymore. Because they
No, they
can't
are.
dance anyway. They can't
They are.
dance. Yeah,
They
they're in the
are.
clubs.
They
So
still in the club.
but I think
Yeah.
I heard a lot of them just stand around because the
Well,
music they
yeah,
can't.
yeah. It's more of a drug and a fashion show. So
Yeah,
it's how good you feel is for the experience. I think a lot of that's why like gangs played out because when gangs first started, like how we're gonna get into that on our next show, y'all stay tuned. But how a brief introduction, but how it started and how it's ending. Now it's more of a fashion. Now it's more of an experience. It's I'm a blood. Oh yeah. Now I can experience, and if I want to experience it more, I go shoot somebody up to gain a stripe or whatever they want to call it. But I think a lot of our activities that y'all have created in the past, the then y'all created back then, now to us, we look at it as like a jacket we can put on, like I see people doing that, so you see people put on the Black Panther movement, so they put on a jacket. You see people put on the you know just different aspects of what y'all created on many levels. It seems like now we kind of look at it and say, well, if I want to do the working field, I can do that because we know y'all work hard, but we're
yeah,
like,
but
man,
see,
huh?
but a lot of us had to go undercover. If you was Black Power, you saw so many of your friends get killed or go to jail
Right.
that the hood became a place where you had to go undercover. When I was walking around the hood, they said, "They go that black man." I'm looking around, everybody here black. But they said I
Mm.
was that black man because I'm the one talking about history. I'm the one talking about let's stick together.
You
I'm the talking
stood
about
out.
we got to work together to make
Right.
it a success.
Right.
But again, the thing is this is that that is very very difficult.
Oh yeah.
Let's it's getting kind of almost. Let's see
Yeah.
if we can share some of your music.
Absolutely. If we can, I got a song called Great Divine and Fly Away. And it's for advertisement purposes only. I want y'all to check out what I can do and the craft that I bring to all of y'all. And, working, being a student under Clyde Winters and being a student to many others, my experiences on what I learned and what I see that the true value is. And what I see from all this is family. At the end of the day, I see is family and being free, to think free, to be at peace. And I created a song called Fly Away because when we do our research and when we do our work and when we go out here and we put all our energy out on this, where is our peace of mind at? At when our minds stop fumbling and going through all these thoughts, I wanted a peace of mind, so I created Fly Away. And it's I guess it's a short interpretation of how I feel with the body, mind, and soul. At times, you feel like you want to just relax and lay in a land full of clouds and just be free at ease, knowing that your work is done, knowing that you have did and built what you have came here to build, knowing what you created was a success, knowing that you reached who you needed to reach, knowing that every crack and void you didn't filled up and you didn't did your job. And at the end of the day, we just want to relax and fly away.
Let me
Along with,
see.
huh?
Let
Go
me
ahead.
see if I can play this. I don't know. Can you hear it? Can you
No,
hear it? You can't hear it.
no.
Ah, I don't know why.
Yeah, it's no sound.
I'm gonna have to find a way to work this out.
Yeah, this song. All right. If I'll join my Patreon. So the reason why I asked for many to join my Patreon is so I could continue to make this kind of content at free will. To bring what the industry don't bring, and it's to bring that substance back to what I feel that if we all know what we know and know that I was a student under, you know, great teachers and professors, then this is what came out. I have videos that's on my Patreon account that I create and that I put up, and they're also on my YouTube account. But eventually I'm gonna take them down from YouTube, because what we gotta do is we gotta support each other. And YouTube and everything, hey, kudos to you, YouTube, but you know how the algorithm and how the numbers work. Us independent artists got to do so much. So with that said, on the Patreon, become a Gumroad member, and then you will have content sent to you through your email, free content, if you just subscribe. You ain't got to buy nothing on Gumroad just yet. Just check out what I got to give you. And I got some free content to whoever who subscribed to Gumroad. You'll get some songs, you'll get some pictures and some videos that no one never seen before. I really keep it exclusive, to everybody who join in, but it won't work, bro.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna get this done eventually.
Right. Because what I'm gonna do is so we have another channel, y'all, and the other channel is called Then and Now. It's on YouTube. So this right here will be put on that channel. So you'll catch the replay on that channel as well. And on that channel, you'll see the cuts and everything that we had to offer from Then and Now, as I'm creating in the background the images and everything. One of the people, family members up here, Ghost Dog 8, was like the thumbnail is dope. You know what I'm saying? We up on there fighting. Yeah. We fighting. We fighting the same thing you fighting for. At the end of the day, it wouldn't
Okay,
work.
well, no, I can't get it. So, family,
Cool.
we're gonna have the music ready next week. We're gonna make sure that this music is gonna be ready, so we can share with you some of this music that the genius is making. As he said, maybe if you go to his website for at least about a half an hour, we're gonna leave. He can maybe leave the music up, because after a half an hour, he's gonna put it back into his Patreon. But check out some of this music. It can help, make you feel better about life, make you see the world a bit better. And again, thank you guys for showing up. This week we were talking about the hood. We basically wanted to talk about the fact that much of what Katt Williams was talking about in terms of the community, people working with each other, people trying to help some people trying to help each other grow and things like that. That was something else. And the fact that he could ride a truck all the way from his hometown to Miami. I mean, we couldn't do that today. You know, anything could happen. But again, I want to thank you guys for showing up for the first talk on Then and Now. Next week, we're going to talk about gangs. We're going to talk about the activity of gangs, their literature and all that type of stuff. Did you want to say something, Yoshim Mod, before we close?
Man, I love y'all. Thank y'all for everything. Like I said, y'all tune in to the Patreon and the Gumroad, and y'all tune in to Dr. Clyde Patreon and Gumroad, and we have a lot more content coming, a lot more thumbnails, a lot more visual content, and we got more to give to the community. And I want the you know, man, when we get back on here next time, when I have the videos running, I wanted to introduce y'all to like some gadgets of the day and stuff. So we're going to get into that next time, where we're going to talk about the new future gadgets that I consider is the now compared to the then, on how we work with gadgets that I use in this day and age. And we also gonna get into a little poetry next time, because I have some poetry content along with some visuals on that. So I got a lot planned for y'all next time. This right here was a great show. Thank you, Dr. Clyde. I really appreciate you for everything that you're doing.
Thank you.
I really appreciate your time, and even, you know, man, the whole community out here, baby. The whole community out here. Yeah, I love that. I love that. So the more y'all tune in, the more music y'all will get a chance to embrace. And the more y'all will get to see what's going on with Yoshim Mod, man, and Dr. Clyde. Yeah, we in this. Then and now, baby.
Then and now.
Then and now.
Take care, everybody.
Peace.